The Lost Ring. The tavern arrived just as the moon bells rang in the city of Elarion Vale. Lanterns drifted along canals on enchanted currents, casting slow-moving light that shimmered like half-remembered dreams. Stone bridges arched overhead, carved with old runes worn smooth by centuries of passing lives. I was polishing a glass when the door opened, not sharply, not with purpose, but hesitantly, the kind of entrance made by someone who almost turned back before committing. I looked up and smiled the way I always do. "Come in," I said gently. "You are safe here." The traveler stepped inside, cloak damp with canal mist, eyes flicking across the room as if expecting it to fade into rumor. I waited until the door closed behind her before speaking again. "I am Lion. What is your name?" I asked, already pouring something warm. She hesitated. "Élise," she said softly. I nodded. "Names anchor people. And what brings you to a place most people believe only appears in stories?" Her fingers twisted together. "I lost something," she said. "Something I can't replace." I set the mug before her and leaned on the bar. "Then," I said, "you've come to the right place." Elise didn't cry. That told me more than tears ever could. "It's a ring," she said at last. "Not a powerful one, not magic. It belonged to my mother. She gave it to me the night she died and told me it would remind me of who I am when I forgot." She swallowed. "I left it on a stone bench by the lower canal. When I returned, it was gone." Alex moved quietly in the background, straightening chairs, adjusting lanterns, very deliberately pretending not to listen while hearing every word. That is his way. I nodded slowly. "People think grief announces itself," I said, "but most of the time it's quiet, portable, easy to misplace." Her eyes lifted to mine. "And when we lose the object," I continued, "we panic, not because of what it was, but because of what we fear it took with it." Her breath trembled. "I don't know who I am without it." And there it was. I poured myself a drink and spoke the way bedtime stories should be spoken. Unhurried, sideways, like easing into sleep. "There once was a wayfinder," I said, "who carried a charm carved from starbone. He believed it showed him the safest path through the fog lands." Alex paused mid-step. He knew this story, or at least the shape of it. "One night the charm slipped from his cloak and vanished into the mist. He wandered for years believing himself lost until he realized something unsettling." I leaned closer. "He was still finding his way." The hearth cracked softly. "The charm hadn't given him direction," I said. "It had given him permission to trust his steps." Elise frowned, thinking. "When the object was gone," I added, "the truth had nowhere left to hide." I let the silence stretch. Silence is where meaning settles. Alex placed a small plate of bread between us and murmured, "Still warm." Elise smiled faintly at him. He flushed and retreated, task complete. I spoke again, softer. Tell me, I asked, what did your mother teach you without the ring? She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. She taught me how to be gentle without being weak, she said slowly. How to stay kind when it costs something. How to stand my ground without becoming hard. Her shoulders loosened as she spoke. I nodded. Then the ring hasn't gone far. We did not scour the canals. We did not retrace steps or cast spells. Instead, I asked her to sit, to drink, to remember. That is the part most people miss. Healing rarely looks like recovery. It looks like recognition. The thing you lost, I said, was never the container. It was the reminder, and reminders have a habit of returning once they know they're no longer holding you together. The tavern door opened. A canal courier stepped inside, water dripping from his boots, holding a cloth-wrapped bundle. Was told this belonged here, he said uncertainly. Found it resting on the bar outside at dawn. Inside the cloth was a ring. Élise gasped, hands flying to her mouth. No one claimed it, the courier added, but it felt important. I didn't explain, and the tavern rarely does. She held the ring gently, then laughed, soft and surprised. I didn't need it, she said. Not the way I thought. I smiled. No, I agreed, but sometimes the world returns things once we stop clinging. Élise stayed until the lanterns dimmed and the canals stilled. She didn't rush, and neither did the night. When she finally rose, the ring rested easily on her finger, not as a tether, but as a reminder she could carry lightly. Thank you, she said, for helping me remember. That, I said, was already yours. Alex walked her to the door. When he returned, he lingered near the bar. You do that often, he said quietly. Help people without fixing them. I chuckled. They don't come here to be fixed. The tavern settled. Elarion Vale slept. The canals held their glowing reflections. And somewhere between loss and return, another traveler remembered who she was without needing proof in her hands. My friend, some things are lost so we can learn they were never holding us together. Some reminders return only after we no longer need them to survive. If tonight you're missing something, an object, a moment, a version of yourself, know this: what mattered most is still walking with you. The fire is warm, the door is closed, and you are not lost. Good night, traveler.